Hello and thanks for joining us on NTA International News at this hour. I am Dennis Adegunloye. First, the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari warns against impediments to federal projects in states. Over 4,000 new recruits join Nigerian Army as Chief of Defense Staff General Abayomi Olonishakin calls for total commitment among soldiers. Plus, federal government restates commitment to Ogoni cleanup project. And now the news in detail. The presidency has commended the Nigeria Police Force for the discovery of a child theft racket in Kano State and fake correctional centers in Kaduna and Katsina states, urging them to sustain these good efforts across the country. Reacting to the incidents and arrests, President Buhari notes that such arrests are in line with his commitment to human rights and dignity of the citizens, regardless of their age, religion and ethnicity. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says President Buhari will not support criminality under any guise, including the abduction of children and selling them off illegally. The President therefore lauds the efforts of the police in exposing these human rights abuses by individuals and criminal groups and is optimistic that these efforts will be sustained to check illegal activities of this nature. The President appeals to members of the general public to remain vigilant and assist security agencies in crime prevention and control by reporting the existence of criminal activities around their communities. 4,832 soldiers have been injected into the Nigerian Army. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olonishakin, announced this at the passing out parade for the 78 regular recruits intake of the Nigerian Army Depot, Zaria, Kaduna State. Hadiza Musa reports.
The 78 regular recruits passed out of the Depot Nigerian Army Zaria, having gone through various training to acquire skills that will enable them contribute their quota towards defending the territorial integrity of Nigeria and maintaining its status as a sovereign nation. The special guest of honor and reviewing officer, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Gabriel Olonishakin, urged the recruits to use knowledge gained in the course of their training in winning the fight against insurgency and other security challenges.
The excellent display of drill and military skill exhibited on this parade ground today portends that you have acquired the basic training that is required of you to be good soldiers.
Awards were presented to those who distinguished themselves in the course of their training. In Zaria, Hadiza Musa, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Mohammed Barbandidi, says henceforth all persons coming in and out of the country must comply with international best practices by possessing valid registered travel documents. He stated this during the passing out parade of 475 second converted and upgraded officers course held at the Immigration Training School, Kano. Elizabeth Yila Lamidu reports.
These are the 475 officers of the Nigerian Immigration Service who have completed a 6-week course for the second converted and upgraded officers from Inspectorate Cadre to Superintendent Cadre to deepen and widen their skills and to meet contemporary challenges. The Controller General of the Immigration Service admonished the officers to discharge their duties with utmost sense of professionalism.
But training is a huge investment which we will continue to do so that immigration will provide better service to Nigerians. Let me seize this opportunity and inform Nigerians that the ongoing Operation Swift Response must be sustained. And I'm glad to say Mr. President has given approval for us to continue.
I urge you all to uphold and apply the requisite knowledge, and good values you have imbibed during training as good ambassadors of the school and the service.
The second converted and upgraded officers also left an indelible mark at the institute by constructing and donating a borehole to ease water supply. A colorful silent drill parade was carried out by the graduates. In Kano, Elizabeth Yedalamido, NTA News.
In other news, the presidency has warned that henceforth the federal government might be forced to reallocate projects elsewhere if any state government or communities create unnecessary impediments in the allocation of land or access to such lands for federal projects. A statement by the senior special assistant to the president on media, Garba Shehu, says President Muhammadu Buhari sees the idea of chasing away contractors on site or making undue demands from them by local communities or the deliberate actions of state governments to frustrate the allocation of land for federal projects as an antithesis of the people's welfare. The presidency notes that the refusal to allocate lands for federal projects or the growing hostility by communities against contractors on site are hurting the interests of the very people governments are elected to serve. The presidency added that when it comes to the welfare of the people, governments at all levels should be united by the common goal of improving the well-being of the people, regardless of political affiliations. And to political matters now, the Kogi and Delta State governorship elections draw nearer. The All Progressives Congress APC has inaugurated campaign committees for the conduct of the exercise in the two states to ensure victory of the party. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu reports that Governor Nasiru El-Rufai of Kaduna State is the chairman of the campaign council for Kogi State, and Governor Badaru Abubakar of Jigawa State is for Bayelsa State.
Countdown to the conduct of Kogi and Bayelsa State's governorship election is by the day coming closer. The inauguration of the campaign committees is a prelude to the launch of the campaign on Monday, the 21st October 2019. National Chairman of APC, Comrade Adams Oshomole, expressed confidence that APC will be victorious through the ballots. He advised the committees to penetrate all the nooks and crannies of the state with specific goal of achieving victory, devoid of rancor and hostility.
We believe in the power of the ballot. We believe that the issues should be contested in a peaceful environment, not by the power of gunshots.
Chairman of the campaign committees thanked the party for the opportunity to serve and promised to do the needful.
I am confident that the good work done by His Excellency Governor Yahaya Bello in the last 4 years, the combined effort of all of us, focus and unity of purpose, we will deliver Kogi State with an even wider margin than the last year.
This assignment is a historic assignment because, inshallah, this is the time that we should take over as a government of Bayelsa State.
Governors of Kogi, Borno, Kebbi, and Niger State attended the ceremony. In Abuja, Ilyasu Ali Yakubu, NTA News.
Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Muhammadu Buhari has unveiled the athletes that will compete in the 2020 World Power Lifting World Cup to be hosted in Abuja next year.
The First Lady Aisha Buhari, represented by the wife of the Vice President, Dr. Shimbajo, noted that hosting the 2020 championship will be an enormous task, with paralifters coming from Europe, the Americas, and Africa. She therefore tasked the organizers to put all hands on deck for the ultimate success of the event.
I am an advocate of women, children, and vulnerable groups here in Nigeria, and I shall champion all causes with all my strength. This means every challenge can be turned into a blessing, provided that the inner will, the inner force, is present to drive that positive change.
Ours is to further motivate and support athletes to soar to greater heights and dreams.
Nigeria's earned respect over the years in World Powerlifting was a motivating factor for the approval of a 3-year hosting right The competition manager, International Powerlifting Federation, Sam Monkley, revealed. A clothing line was also unveiled by the First Lady as a means to source revenue for retired athletes, which she reiterates was a part of her sustained support for vulnerable groups in society.
To environmental matters now, and the Minister of Environment, Mohammed Mahmoud Abubakar, says the demonstration of unflinching commitment to the oil pollution remediation project in Ogoniland should propel other parts of the country contending with one form of environmental challenge or the other to keep faith with the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration. The minister made the observation during his maiden working visit to the Ogoni cleanup sites in Rivers State. Robinson Dieratide has details.
It is the first visit of the minister to Rivers State after he took charge of the Ministry of Environment. After a brief meeting with the staff of IPREP, the minister was conducted round clusters of sites within Tai and Eleme Council areas, during which he observed that about 30% of work has been achieved. He advised against activities that will frustrate smooth operations.
The whole country will want to do an environmental assessment of where are things happening. It's not just impact of oil, but we have places where we have severe erosion, deforestation, where you have desertification. Now that we are doing high prep here, let's concentrate on high prep and make sure it's done and it's done well.
The complex impacted sites, according to IPREP, will soon receive attention from a joint team of United Nations technical staff and IPREP.
A joint team of IPREP and United Nations team going right as we speak to do a recognizance of the complex sites.
Chairman Ogoni Supreme Council of Traditional Rulers, King Godwin Ginewa, had interacted with the minister and expressed concern with the pace of work and engagement of the indigents.
If they are awarding contract, they should consider Ogoni people. The Ogoni people are prepared to support you, and please let us benefit from it.
The minister sensitized Ogoni women, as about 400 of them are said to be trained on agro-business skills by IPREP. From Tai in Rivers State, Robinson Dieratide, NTA News.
Now, Nigerian children and youths have critical roles to play in achieving an inclusive and equitable 2030 agenda for present and future generations under the Sustainable Development Goals. Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, Adejoke Orelupe Adefulire, who was represented, stated this at the launch of the world's largest lessons and SDGs Activation Summit in Nigeria. Haman Jabani reports.
The world's largest lesson introduces the Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the Global Goals, to children and young people everywhere and unites them in action. Jennifer Anthony and Ikoko Nzefili schools represent the over 1,200 schools in Nigeria that have signed the petition for government to include SDGs in their learning curriculum.
It's giving we, the young youths and children, an opportunity to express our feelings and what we see, what we want, and how we want Nigeria to be in the next few years.
SDG being included in our curriculum helps because it provides a quality education for the students.
Under 1 week of the activation, more than 500,000 people from the 36 states and FCT, 1,056 communities have keyed into the world's largest lesson, which is to avert the threat and challenges to the attainment of the sustainable development and humanity.
We must make the right choices now to improve life in a sustainable way for our future generations by creating opportunities for the young children and youth to move out of poverty into decent and sustainable work for inclusive growth.
Development goals to engage all
development partners have acknowledged the need for synergy to achieve the implementation of the SDGs for the benefit of the future generation. For Jennifer and Ikoko, giving youths the opportunity to be included in the 2030 agenda can't come at a better time than now. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
You are still on to the news on NTA International. We'll take a quick break now. More stories when we return. Stay with us.
Hey, you! And are you how they talk to? I sabi you now. The
wetin dey your mind, abi? The person wey dem go hail pass. Baba Toros and Shangalo, Oga Legova, Mr. Sabi. And you don't fit carry last for this one.
A spear into the top corner.
We sabi say pikin go crawl before him waka. So don't look, no help anybody. No dolly, no. So go for her. Go for football. Go for all Syria on the Liga Martins live. Go for Go TV Max.
Thanks for remaining with us. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari's order for a forensic audit of the activities of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, from 2001 till date has been described as another clear reflection of his total commitment to the fight against corruption. The Buhari Media Organization, in a statement, described the move as proof that the president is also prepared to demand explanations from some of his own political appointees, contrary to insinuations by opposition elements of a one-sided war against corruption. Chairman of the group, Ni Akinshiju, and Secretary Cassidy Madueke said in a statement that the audit is a masterstroke in the administration's efforts to ensure that Nigerians in the region get value for huge funds injected into the intervention agency. It asks Nigerians to note that it is coming at a time that some key members of the administration who have questions to answer over their tenure in office have not only been forced to step down, but are also facing trial on sundry allegations. BMO also noted that the forensic probe of NDDC activities would be taking place at a time when the Buhari administration is executing a number of projects in the region, including the Calabar Deep Sea Port and Industrial Park, as well as a number of road projects. Let's cross over the Atlantic now to the United States, where the International Monetary Fund has commended Nigeria's decision to close its land borders to illegal trade, as it will ensure growth of the local industry. Chimabi Walter Naji reports that this was pointed out during the African Regional Economic Outlook report presented at the ongoing annual meeting in Washington, D.C.
Now, as Nigeria and the rest of the world move towards the fourth industrial revolution and strengthening economic ties among countries, the IMF and World Bank has continued to project slower growth in the African region to scale up slightly to 3.6% in 2020 from 3.2% in 2019. Now, properly harnessing the potentials of the Continental Free Trade Agreement, solving issues of climate change, mitigating the spread of security challenges and xenophobic attacks in some African countries, and closing the gap of gender bias in economic decisions, the IMF say will help for a stronger growth in the region. It was the consensus of the IMF that the land border closure in Nigeria will further mitigate the inflow of illegal trade happening on the fringes of the border communities in the country and strengthen the bilateral ties between Nigeria and the neighboring countries.
On the border closure in Nigeria, which has been impacting Benin and Niger, our understanding is that the border has been closed, reflecting concerns about smuggling that's been taking place, illegal trade, not the legal trade that you want to facilitate. So we're very hopeful that discussions will resolve the challenges that this illegal trade is fostering. To be sure, if the border closure was to be sustained for a long time.
While applauding the gains of the economic recovery growth plan of the federal government in Nigeria, the IMF, however, expressed concerns on the growing debt profile within Africa and the impact it is having on the local economies. In Washington, D.C., I'm Chimabi Walter Naji, NTA News.
And back home, technological advancements in the media space are bringing scientists and journalists closer. Now, how these professionals will be working to showcase research findings and innovation form the thrust of a workshop organized by the African Science Literacy Network on Science Communication and Journalism. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday has details.
Analysts say Africa, most especially Nigeria, is blessed with the best scientists, and due to the complicity of their work, their successes are being underreported. It is in a bid to change this line of thought and move away from the norm that these scientists and journalists from all parts of Nigeria are engaging in knowledge and experience sharing. The need for the creation of cluster groups and simplicity in reportage were advocated. The largest TV network in Africa, the NTA, has the highest number of journalists in attendance at the workshop.
If a researcher is carrying out his research, he should involve the journalists right from day one, not at the end, so that it will go a long way in promoting science and moving science communication.
And also developing curriculum in our schools for journalists who can be trained on the basics of reporting and communicating science.
The forum came up with some resolutions.
And we've seen the enthusiasm of both the scientists and the journalists and the willingness for them to work together. And so we're going to be building on that, and they've come up with fantastic ideas of building relationships with the editors as well as the senior people at universities and seeing how we can encourage training.
Journalists historically have always played a big role in shaping policies. Therefore, bringing scientists and journalists together would help in enhancing understanding of science, trust and support for science within Nigeria and also across Africa.
It is the first time journalists are participating in the annual Science Communication Workshop. Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
Now for a review of some major events of the week. Justin Bem-Unyi is our guide.
One major event as the week came through was the launch of this year's Armed Forces Remembrance Day Emblem Appeal Fund by President Muhammadu Buhari, where he emphasized that peace is non-negotiable. This came with a reassurance to Nigerians that the federal government will neither abdicate its responsibility nor fail to provide them an atmosphere devoid of security threats and criminality for a stable and prosperous future. In the course of the week, the President approved for immediate implementation of additional cost-saving measures aimed at instilling financial discipline and prudence, particularly in the area of official travels, in a bid to curb leakages and ensure efficiency in the management of government resources. In the meantime, the President had ordered a forensic audit of the operations of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, from 2001 to 2019, describing as worrisome and intolerable the persistent public outcry over the activities of the Commission. The week under review also had President Muhammadu Buhari have an engagement with a high-powered delegation from the South-East Zone, where he announced the approval of 10 billion naira Special Intervention Fund for immediate repairs and upgrade of the Akano Ibiam International Airport, Enugu. Amidst all these developments, the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo received a delegation from the International Criminal Court, ICC, led by its prosecutor, Fatou Bensouda, and affirmed that Nigeria is fully cooperating with the court's preliminary examination into issues related to insurgency in the Northeast to ensure the process is forthrightly concluded. Discussions at the meeting centered on Nigeria's support and cooperation with the Office of the Prosecutor at the ICC, and the Vice President emphasized that the Nigerian government remains committed to its obligations under the Rome Statute. Now, coming from the National Assembly, we had reports in the week that the Senate passed the Deep Offshore and Inland Basin Production Sharing Contract Act Amendment Bill. The bill was passed less than 2 weeks after its introduction on the floor of the Senate. In the meantime, another report from the legislature indicated that the House Committee on Power is taking a holistic measure to address the epileptic power supply in Nigeria. Strategies to adopt range from tapping other alternative power sources to efficient distribution of already generated electricity. These were some of the issues that dominated discussions at the inaugural meeting of the committee.
Justin Bem-Unyi there with the Weekend Review. That concludes the news on NTA International at this time. Many thanks for watching. I am Dennis Adegunloye.